There's a truth nobody wants to admit. Most of us prefer to live in illusion rather than face the complexity of reality. We choose the comfort of a simple lie instead of the disturbing beauty of a complicated truth. And maybe, just maybe, this isn't just laziness. Maybe it's the very nature of the human mind protecting itself from what it cannot bear. Think with me for a moment. When was the last time you chose the easy answer instead of the true one? When did you accept a superficial explanation because it was more comfortable than diving into the abyss of the unknown? Don't feel bad. We all do this. The human brain, this extraordinary machine that took us to the moon and created symphonies that make the soul weep, is also the same structure that makes us believe in horoscopes, share fake news, and defend ideas we barely understand. Why does this happen? Why does this contradiction exist so deeply at the heart of our intelligence? The answer begins with something psychologists call cognitive economy. Your brain wasn't designed to seek truth, it was designed to survive. And surviving, for most of our evolutionary history, meant making quick decisions with limited information. Seeing a shape in the savannah and thinking it's a lion, even if it's just wind shaking the leaves, kept you alive. Hesitating, analyzing, weighing all the variables, turned you into lunch. So our ancestors who survived were those who developed mental shortcuts, cognitive biases, that allowed instantaneous decisions based on simplified patterns, and we inherited this. The philosopher Blaise Pascal said that all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. He was right in a way he perhaps never imagined, because sitting quietly means confronting the complexity of our own thought, and that's terrifying. It's much easier to accept that there's a clear villain, a simple solution, an obvious path. The real world, with its infinite nuances, its irreconcilable contradictions, its dilemmas without perfect answers, is a difficult place to inhabit. So we create simplified versions of it. We create narratives where good and evil are obvious, where causes and effects are direct, where there's always someone to blame or something to fix everything. And here's the cruel trick. The smarter an idea is, the more it demands from you. Complex ideas require time, attention, reflection. They don't fit in an impact phrase or a viral meme. They don't give you immediate answers. They give you more questions. And questions, my friend, are uncomfortable. They take us out of the zone of certainty and throw us into the territory of doubt. And doubt, for a brain that seeks security above all else, feels like danger. But there's something even deeper happening here, something that goes beyond simple mental economy. Have you noticed how the dumbest ideas always come accompanied by a sense of belonging, of community, of identity? When you embrace a simple idea, especially if it's shared by a group, you gain something precious. You gain a tribe. And for human beings, belonging to a tribe can be more important than being right. Think about the great conspiracy theories, extreme political beliefs, inflexible religious dogmas. They have something in common. They offer absolute certainty and tribal belonging. No matter how absurd they are, they create a feeling of being in the know, of knowing a hidden truth, of being part of something bigger. And that's intoxicating, because the opposite of that, the complex and lonely truth, is precisely that, lonely. Accepting that the world is complicated, that few things are black and white, that most important questions don't have easy answers, places you in an isolated spot. A place where you can't simply repeat slogans and be applauded by your group. If you've felt this, if you've noticed this conflict between what your intellect knows to be true and what your heart wants to believe, you're beginning to awaken. And this awakening is the first step. Subscribe to this channel because this journey of self-knowledge is just beginning, and the next revelations will surprise you even more. Now, let me tell you something about me and about you. We are narrative creatures. We don't understand the world through pure data or cold logic. We understand through stories, and the best stories are simple. Hero versus villain, good versus evil, problem and solution. When someone offers you a complex idea, full of ifs, buts, howevers, depends, your brain resists because it doesn't know how to turn that into a coherent story. But when someone offers you a simple idea, a clear narrative, that fits perfectly into the mental structure you already have. This is why populists of all political spectrums are so effective. They don't sell complex policies. They sell simple stories. The enemy is that group over there. The solution is this measure here. Vote for me and everything will improve. Never mind that economic, social, and political reality is infinitely more complicated. The simple story wins because it fits the way we process information. And see the cruel irony. The more education you have, the more susceptible you may be to this phenomenon. Because educated people are better at rationalizing. They take their emotional beliefs and build sophisticated arguments to defend them. A scientist who believes in something for tribal or emotional reasons can build an intellectual fortress around that belief much better than someone without formal training. Intelligence doesn't make us immune to idiocy. It just makes us better at justifying it. Have you had that experience of arguing with someone, presenting facts, evidence, impeccable logic, and the person simply doesn't change their mind? And you get frustrated thinking, how can this person be so stupid? But here's the secret. They're not being stupid. They're being human. Because changing your mind, especially about something that's tied to your identity or your social group, isn't an intellectual matter. It's an existential matter. Accepting that you were wrong about something important can feel like a small death. Because if you were wrong about this, what else are you wrong about? And if you start questioning this belief, what other beliefs will crumble? The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard spoke about the despair of being unconsciously desperate. Most people live in a state of deep denial about the complexity and uncertainty of existence. And when you try to wake them to this complexity, even with the best intentions, they resist violently, because you're not just challenging an idea, you're challenging the entire system of meaning they've built to make life bearable. So what do we do with this? How do we navigate a world where truth is complex, but lies are seductive? The first thing is to recognize this in ourselves, to be humble enough to admit that we also prefer simple ideas. We also seek confirmation. We also choose the comfort of certainty instead of the discomfort of doubt. The difference between wisdom and ignorance isn't that the wise person always chooses complex ideas. It's that they're aware of the temptation to choose the simple ones. True intelligence isn't knowing many facts, it's knowing that you don't know. Socrates, that old bore from ancient Greece, was right when he said that the only thing he knew was that he knew nothing. This wasn't false modesty. It was the recognition that the universe is far vaster, more mysterious, and more complicated than any mental model we can build. And embracing this uncertainty, living comfortably with ambiguity, is one of the hardest things a human being can do. But there is a path. It begins with curiosity instead of certainty, questions instead of answers, humility instead of arrogance. When you encounter an idea that seems too simple to be true, pause. Ask yourself, am I accepting this because it's true or because it's comfortable? Am I believing this because I did the work of investigating or because it confirms what I already want to believe? And more importantly, am I willing to change my mind if the evidence points in another direction? This last question is the most important, because if the answer is no, if you're not willing to change your mind under any circumstances, then you don't have a belief. You have an ideology, and ideologies, whether left or right, religious or secular, are enemies of thought. But there's an even deeper secret that few know. The preference for dumb ideas isn't just a human flaw. It's also an evolutionary strategy that in certain contexts worked. The problem isn't that we have these biases. The problem is that we're using Stone Age mental tools to solve information age problems. Our brains were calibrated for tribes of 150 people, not for global societies of billions. for immediate physical threats, not for abstract risks like climate change or economic collapse. For simple narratives that kept the group cohesive, not for complex truths that require global cooperation. And here's the revelation that will change everything for you. The future belongs not to those who have the simplest answers, but to those who can live with complexity without despairing, to those who can hold multiple perspectives in mind at the same time. To those who understand that certainty is the luxury of fools and that wisdom lives in the foggy territory of probability, not certainty. Think about every time humanity made a real evolutionary leap. It wasn't when someone offered a simple answer. It was when someone had the courage to say, "This is more complicated than we think." Copernicus didn't simplify the cosmos. He complicated it by removing Earth from the center. Darwin didn't simplify the origin of species. He revealed an infinitely more complex process than any creation myth. Einstein didn't simplify time and space. He showed they were relative and intertwined in ways that defy intuition. Real genius lies in embracing complexity, not fleeing from it. And you, watching this video now, are already doing this, because being here in this moment, digesting these ideas that don't fit in a tweet or a sensationalist headline, is already an act of courage. It's already choosing the difficult over the easy, the true over the comfortable. So here's the final message I want you to take with you. Stop blaming yourself for preferring simple ideas. You're human, but start noticing when you're doing it. Create a space between impulse and action, between the seductive idea and blind acceptance. In that space lives the possibility of choice. And choice, true conscious choice, is the only real freedom we have. The world doesn't need more people with certainties. It needs more people comfortable with doubts. It doesn't need more gurus promising simple answers. It needs more explorers willing to get lost in the labyrinth of complexity. And you can be one of them. You already are, just by the fact that you've made it this far. If this message resonated with you, if something inside you moved hearing these words, then leave a like. Comment sharing which moment impacted you the most. And subscribe, because we're going to continue exploring these ideas that most people avoid, these truths that disturb but liberate. And most importantly, share this video with someone you know is trapped in easy certainties. Not to convert them, but to plant a seed of doubt, because sometimes doubt is the most precious gift we can give someone. It's the beginning of true wisdom.